Hey Apes, sorry this screencast is coming out so late, but I just want to go over global warming versus ozone depletion. Period 1, we got further than we did period 5, 6, so feel free to skip past the slides that you guys already did in class. Okay, so for global warming, we have a couple of different causes. You have natural and anthropogenic sources. Okay, this is why people argue that global warming is not actually human induced because there are several natural causes along with several anthropogenic causes. And we're going to go more into this as we go along. So if you need to write these down, just pause it, write them down. Okay, chemicals involved: carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, methane. Okay, CH4, methane, is the most potent greenhouse gas, whereas carbon dioxide is the most abundant greenhouse gas other than water vapor. But carbon dioxide is the more anthropogenic source of global warming. Okay, environmental impacts. You have warming of the Earth's atmosphere, which then causes a lot of different melting. So big issues are glaciers melting, ice caps, permafrost melting, and releasing trapped methane from underneath. In the PowerPoint that we did for energy with methane and methane hydrates, there was the gas bubbling up from the frozen lakes and they were lighting it on fire. The biggest issue is thermal expansion of the oceans, which actually increases the sea level more than the glaciers melting, ice caps melting, things like that. Okay. You also have stronger storms, shifting ocean currents, which then changes climates because you have that heat pump that moves from the equator towards the poles, and the cold air and water that moves from the poles towards the equator, which then causes migration and range of species to change. So human health issues, it's warmer in general, but some places can actually get colder. Heat stroke, increased heat waves, an increase of insect range, and better breeding grounds for mosquitoes and bacteria. And you have things like malaria, Zika, dengue fever, yellow fever, West Nile virus that all are spread a lot easier because you have mosquitoes now breeding in a lot more places and breeding in places where they didn't used to be able to breed. Okay, and then because of drought, you have a lot of poverty and hardships and a lot of desertification occurring, and all of this leads to malnutrition. Okay, global warming occurs in the troposphere, has infrared light, and agreements that deal with this are the Kyoto Protocol and the Paris Agreement. That's the new one in 2016. The way I remember Kyoto Protocol is Kyoto is in Japan, which is near China. China is very polluted, lots of CO2 for global warming. Brings us to ozone depletion. Causes: natural, none. Anthropogenic: propellants, aerosol, hairsprays, etc., refrigerants and refrigerators and air conditioners, and blowing agents used to make styrofoam. Most of these have been banned, okay? Your refrigerants do not now emit ozone depleting chemicals. They emit something else, and some of them then are greenhouse gases, and some of them are just more mild ozone depleting chemicals, for lack of better terms. So the biggest ozone depleting chemical is CFCs, okay? You have UV, it breaks down the CFCs, it gives you chlorine, fluorine, and carbon. That carbon and that oxygen come together, it gives you ClO, okay, chlorine oxide. The chlorine, okay, the other one, it binds with O3, okay, the ozone, and it creates ClO and O2, okay? Then you have that oxygen that binds with that ClO, and then that yields oxygen and then the chlorine. Then what happens is this chlorine here, okay, this isn't gonna right, there we go. This chlorine then goes back up to this chlorine, okay, it binds with more ozone, it breaks that ozone apart, okay, and then this ClO here then turns more chlorine and it goes here and it goes here, and this is an ever-ending loop. Not never ending, but one chlorine can break down 100,000 ozone molecules. That's why these things are so detrimental. So environmental impacts: lack of ozone rather, destroys plant cells, reduces photosynthetic activity, animals get cataract and sunburns, and it harms photoplankton. The big thing is that the ozone layer blocks UV radiation, harmful UV radiation, and without that layer there to block the harmful radiation, it comes down to Earth and harms plants and animals. So here are the human health issues: skin cancer, sunburn, cataracts, suppresses your immune system, and it causes ungodly wrinkles. Nobody wants those. layer of the atmosphere this occurs in is the stratosphere. UV light is blocked from ozone, and the agreement that deals with this is Montreal Protocol because the Canucks are cool and they don't want ozone to be depleted. Alrighty, that is it. I will see you guys tomorrow.